Hi everyone, I'm Audrey Hodge with Hodgepodge Solutions, and I am a nonfiction book copy editor. And today I'm going to be talking about the four different types of book editing. Now, I know a lot of people, they know they're writing a book and they know they need editing, but they have no idea that there was more than one kind of editing. They thought editing was only proofreading, or they thought proofreading was also editing, and it was all kind of like wrapped up together. So today I'm here to tell you that there are actually four different kinds of editing related to publishing your book, and they are developmental editing, line editing, copy editing, and then proofreading. So first up, developmental editing. Now, this is the kind of editing that is often called structural or big picture editing. And this is where the developmental editor is looking at the big picture. They help you improve things such as the structure, the organization, and the content of your writing. As they are reading through your manuscript, they're making notes on, um, big gaping plot holes or perhaps lack of knowledge. Perhaps you're assuming something that you either meant to tell your audience and forgot, or you're assuming that they know it. So the editor is going to check with you to see if you either A, forgot to put it in, and you thought you did and you forgot, or does your audience really know that? Because you want to make sure you're writing for your audience. For a fiction book, they're going to be identifying big plot holes. How did this character lose an arm? That was, one chapter they had an arm and the next chapter they didn't. Maybe you forgot to mention some details in there. They're also going to make sure it's organized in a way that the reader can understand it. So maybe the structure makes perfect sense to you, but your editor feels like your reader will grasp the the concepts of the book much better if you move, this section from the middle maybe more towards the top, or maybe your intro is actually like a great, conclusion. They'll help you with things by that, and that's the first step in the editing process. And you're ready for that when you've actually written some stuff, but maybe you're not sure if it's fitting well together. You feel like there's holes and you can't see them because you're too close to it. So after you've had the developmental editing and you feel pretty good about the structure and the organization of your book, then you're going to look for a line editor. These editors are not looking at your book from the big picture like the developmental editor. They're looking at it from the sentence and paragraph level. They're helping you with your writing and your writing style and your language use. So they're going to be pointing out things like run-on sentences, overuse of a word, tightening up paragraphs. They're going to be helping you get your message across to the reader using the best words that you can without boring the reader to death with unnecessary details. They're going to make sure you're not going off on a tangent about something, or you're not repeating yourself. Maybe you told one story farther up, and then later on you're telling the same story. The reader probably doesn't need to hear both stories or hear the story twice in the same book unless you're using it perhaps as an example. But those are the sorts of things that the line editor is looking for. They're focusing on the flow and content of your words to make sure your audience can get what you want them to get out of the book. So after you're pretty happy with the book now, you've got the structure down, you've got the organization, you feel that you're getting your message across clearly to your audience, then you're going to be looking for the copy editor. And the copy editor is getting down into the nitty-gritty details. They are looking for errors and consistency in your spelling, grammar, syntax, punctuation. And this is something I enjoy because I really like all the details. So I'm looking for things like, did you spell your character's name consistently? Or is there a certain lingo you use in your industry? Are you spelling that correctly? Did you quote somebody? Are you spelling their name correctly? Is the quote correct? Copy editors can also do fact checking. I also check for things like flow. While the line editor was going through and helping you get everything a little more concise, I'm reading through now word by word, making sure that it all makes sense. Because sometimes after doing all that other editing, you probably have a sentence here or there that's a little unclear that needs a little bit of cleaning up. The copy editor is making sure your book. The developmental and line editor made sure your book will read as professional. They're making sure your book looks professional, making sure you have the consistent punctuation and grammar, so your reader doesn't trip up over that, and that it flows well. You could have the best story in the world, but if your reader has to slog through, bad spelling, grammar, and inconsistent punctuation, they might miss what makes your story so great. And after all these editors, you've had maybe, let's say, 4 sets of hands, including your own, on your manuscript at this point. And while each one was finding errors, they might have accidentally also been introducing errors, which happens especially when there are a lot of changes. And maybe you're thinking, well, the copy editor might have caught those, but depending on how many mistakes the copy editor was correcting, they might have inadvertently missed something or added something. I know many times when I am maybe adding or deleting a word, sometimes like I might introduce an extra space, or I might accidentally delete a space, and it's hard to see while you're actually using track changes. And even though I like to accept all my changes and look over the copy again before I send it to the client to make sure I didn't introduce spaces, depending on the size of the manuscript, I'm still likely to miss something, because after all, even your editors are human. So that's where the proofreader comes in. They're going to be checking for any errors that got missed by everybody else or got accidentally introduced. They can also check for errors in formatting. So they're going to make sure that all your titles and your lists are all formatted correctly. Did you use let's say for a title, maybe not your title, let's say for headings, some of them you were using bold and the title and the headings in the center. Then sometimes you had it in italics on the left. They're going to be pointing out things like that and making sure it's all consistent. But don't confuse the proofreading for copy editing, because the proofreader should only be checking for any of these final errors. They shouldn't have to flag if a passage is unclear or if you're super inconsistent on a lot of your punctuation. They should only be finding smaller errors, not lots and lots and lots of things your copy editor should have found. So I hope these 4 descriptions helped you understand the differences in editors when it comes to getting your book ready for publishing. If you have any questions, please let me know. I am happy to answer them. If you are interested in getting more insight into how editing a book works, you can join my Facebook group, Getting Your Nonfiction Book Ready for Publishing. I will drop that link, and I hope everyone has a good day. And if you do feel like you are ready for copy editing, I do a 1,000 word free sample. So you can email me for that and we can get that set up. I hope everyone has a good day.